What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Iceberg Slim, aka Coach the Dime, and today on Movie Mondays, we're going to be reviewing the movie The Five Bloods, directed by the great Spike Lee. And as usual, we're going to talk about the good things first. Now, what I did like, I thought the acting was phenomenal. Between each and every specific character, I thought the roles were played out to their fullest potential. And they also had some scenes that let the actors multiply their potential in the emotional spots that best suit them for their characters. I thought that was great. Another thing I really liked, it shed a huge light on how blacks and African Americans were treated during the Vietnam War. How at the time they only took up, I believe, 11% of the country's population, but with 32% involved in the army. A lot of people didn't think that was right. A lot of people back at home were very against the war, and the unfair treatment of black people in the military and how they were the front line, basically used as shields for other white soldiers. So they'll be the first to go out there. They did a great job of bringing historical facts to light. I even like the fact that they used real footage from the Vietnam War, which at times seemed a little gory. So it might not be a movie for everybody, but I think it's rated pretty high, so not everybody should be watching it anyway, like little kids. But it showed real things that happened in the war, and I think that was very important for a movie like this. They shed a very bright light on PTSD amongst blacks that served in the Vietnam War and how they fought for this country, but received crumbs, if anything, when they got back home as a reward. And no, it wasn't right, and it never has been right. Now, what I didn't like about the movie. First, I'm going to tell you what the movie is about if you haven't seen it. I'm not going to go too into detail because I do still believe you should see it. You should see it because it is very educational and somewhat entertaining. The movie is about five African American soldiers from the Vietnam War who are now closer to their retirement ages, like I say 50 plus, and they go back to Vietnam, the very same battlegrounds where they fought and killed against the Vietnam Army, to retrieve not only their buried comrade, who they looked up to, but also a stashed away pot of gold. It's a large case of gold. I believe it's worth like $17 million worth of gold. They go back, pick up this gold, they end up finding it. The movie is 2.5 hours long, like 2:35. I honestly felt like the movie didn't really just start until an hour and a half in the movie, because everything prior seemed very simple or like easy. Like even up to the point where they found the gold, it seemed somewhat easy, not challenging. Not to say that's a bad thing. I just didn't think it would be that simplistic in a sense. But like I was saying, they go back to find the gold. They end up finding the gold along with one of the Five Blood sons, because he snuck aboard, I guess you could say. And you can definitely tell throughout the film, serving in the Vietnam War, some of the soldiers or one of the Five Bloods has like a discerned immense amount of distrust, even amongst his own best friends, his brothers, he calls them. It's distrust, but it's actually guided in the right direction. Because technically he wasn't wrong from the jump. He wasn't wrong. So at times I would be like, why is this guy tripping on his brother like that? But I guess just soldier's intuition, he knew something was up. They found the gold, and well, just like any other movie that has gold or money in it like that, other people get worried about it. They then come try to take the gold, and lives are lost throughout the way. That's like 80% of the movie. Boom. Now, what I didn't like about the movie. One, the actors portrayed in the movie playing the Five Bloods, like I said earlier, they're in their 50s, late 50s or so. There's a number of flashback scenes where they go back to the Vietnam War and like show them doing battle. But for some odd reason, no one casted like earlier versions of themselves. They looked exactly the same. They didn't seem like they aged backwards at all, even though this was decades ago from a war. And they looked 50 in 2020, and they looked 50 in 1955, the start of the Vietnam War, or 1975, whatever year they were portraying in the scenes of the Vietnam War. They didn't cast any younger versions of themselves, and I thought that was very weird and very obviously visible. I don't know like what the thought process was there, but it didn't make sense to me. That's one. Two, it seemed like the course, or I guess direction of the film, would shift unwantingly sometimes, or that's not a good term. I'll say more sporadically, and in a sense of we don't really just know what's the next move is, I guess. At one scene, we're talking about, going to get our gold. And then another scene, they're trying to force a love interest with one of the Flower-Blood's sons and a French woman who's also in Vietnam at the time. And it really just seems off, along with when the son turns on the father. That was really like short-ended. They didn't really just give like an explanation for it. I don't know if like he just had like a righteous mind to say this is wrong and I'm gonna help these people, but they just kind of ended it as soon as he double-crossed them. The next scene is them the very next morning just walking up the hill together like everything was fine. There was no change of discord or conversation or resolution to say I did this for this reason, I'm mad at you for that, I double-crossed you, now it's over, let's just walk up the mountain and be friends. I didn't really get that. Whatever, ignored it. One thing I'm iffy about is I somewhat liked the rendition of film they tried to like pass on for like World War I film and like make it seem like it's an older movie by changing the screen size to make it seem like an older film. That was kind of cool, but sometimes it would be unnecessary or even like unneeded because they didn't do it. I don't know if it was just me, but it seemed like it was done very repetitiously, very too frequent throughout the movie, so close together. It just seemed weird. And I would also say I wanted just a little bit more, I guess, information about the best friend, Storm and Norman, that they went to go back and retrieve. They didn't really just, they told us his ideals and his ideology and what he just believed in as a black man. That was nice. But the sense from what you get from the trailers, we're going to get like the full story about him. And most of the time, trailers don't just give, I guess, the whole movie. But the trailer kind of seemed if the direction is going to be more centralized around him. So that's kind of what I was expecting. I guess that's my fault. But, just taking it how I see it. I was very confused about when they said the main mission, apart from getting the gold, was to retrieve Storm and Norman and take him home. They ended up finding his remains. Also, something that was very simplistic, very easy. Didn't have an issue with it though. Just noting that it was. And then when they found his remains, I didn't really understand like what they were supposed to do, because they didn't do anything with him. They didn't like put him in a bag and take him home to be buried. They all just put their gold in their bags and then they just left after giving them a prayer, which was a nice solemn moment, but it kind of defeats the whole purpose of saying we're going to come here and bring our old friend home. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was a very abstract film. Uh, Another thing that was great about it though, they did have a lot of unsuspecting jump scenes, and not to say like scare scenes like scenes about like the landmines and people exploding out of nowhere. That was very visually tinted. I didn't expect it, but it kept your eyes on the screen, making you think the movie was gonna go for a drastic turn or more things were gonna happen. But at the end of the film, watching 4 to 5 guys in their retirement have a gun showdown with 25, 30 Vietnam citizens. I mean, I guess it's believable. It's possible. I just didn't. It just didn't do it for me. I guess I don't know. Even like the characters' deaths. Like one guy jumped on a grenade. I didn't even think he needed to do that. Like there was no one else around. From what I saw, it was just him. I don't know if that's just like the soldier mentality to do such a thing, just based off of training. That would make sense. That would be a good response to that, but I don't know. Like I said, very abstract film. Very informative. It shed a great light on the soldiers in Vietnam and how when they were there, impregnated a lot of citizens, the women of that country, and everything. So they, as far as history goes, they did their fill. They did a great job with that. With it all being said, I would give it a B minus. It's a good film if you're a history buff, really good film. But I guess it just wasn't the film for me, or the film I was expecting. But definitely a good film. If you stayed this long, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what else I should review, react to. But until then, peace. We just venting.
I was just venting, man.